Hello, and welcome to At Your End Step. My name is Morgan, and I am here with Mike.
Hello.
And we have another laid-back couch episode here for you this week. Just chilling out, max relaxing here in this December month.
We will be shooting no b-ball outside the school.
I know, it's very cold now. Winter has come.
The temperature had nothing to do with it. I'm just bad at basketball.
I mean, like, whatever. I wasn't going to judge or anything like that. I'm
short and
good.
fat. Okay, I wasn't designed for the game. I was designed to be the ball.
I mean, I'm tall and fat and uncoordinated, so I think we're probably about the same level.
I won't fight with you.
But we have a few things here to talk about. I mean, obviously, Magic is sort of slowing down.
Sun's getting pretty low, Magic.
Sun's getting pretty low. It's just the holiday season, so we don't necessarily have a whole lot of things necessarily going on that are, that are relevant, that are important to talk about. We have like things like the Players Championship for Star City Games that's coming up, which is like probably the last big tournament. And then
Worlds?
I don't know what Worlds is. We'll talk about that a little bit, but before we kind of jump into the show and talk about that amongst and like the Arena Mythic Championship that definitely just happened, I do want to give a quick shout out to all of our patrons that support us via our Patreon. You can find our Patreon at patreon.com/atyourendstep if you are interested in becoming a member. But our patrons are a huge help to us. They help us pay for hosting and really allow the show to go up on a weekly basis when we can. So we thank you so much for supporting us. And again, it's patreon.com/atyourendstep if you are interested in joining those rowdy folks, as it were. But we did want to touch on a few community subjects, a few community topics. One of them being that the World Championship, which is going to be held here coming up. I think all the slots have been locked in, so we're just kind of waiting for the tournament to start. It's probably in January, I would have to imagine.
I'm trying to find it because we have obviously the news about what happened with it today, but the date isn't immediately right. Even the website part of it doesn't seem to have that readily available, which is really weird.
Cool. That's fun.
Why can't I should be able to just find this, right? Like, this should be easy. Nope, give me a date. Give me a date. Give me a date.
Break me off a piece of that World Championship. Anyway.
February 14th through 16th, so we've got some time.
So not till February.
Oh, it starts on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, and that's my birthday weekend, too, so it's just going to be a rip-roaring good time.
No, it won't.
Oh, but I'll be 32.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Your birthday will. I'm at the World Championship.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, a lot of people are pretty salty about the World Championship because it's going to be on Arena. This is the first time that's going to be on Arena, and it's going to be exclusively standard.
Well,
now,
I mean, it has to be, right, if it's on Arena.
I mean, there are other formats that are technically on Arena, but...
Oh, God, could you imagine? World Championship is historic.
Yeah, that'd be... Whew.
I'd watch the World Champions of Brawl, though.
Oh, yeah, I mean, 100%. But that'll be after, like, even Theros comes out, too.
It will be after Theros. It'll be a little bit different.
Will be different. There'll be a whole new set.
Yeah, but I can't wait for the 3-mana Elspeth that blows up the format.
Yeah, so I don't know. Who knows?
Plus 3, create 7 1/1 tokens. So,
yeah.
Luckily it'll have a second ability that'll rein it in, which is like plus 12.
Yeah.
Make an Elspeth Sun Champion token.
Man, please. That'd be great. But I mean, like, it will be a little bit different, but, the not having like a limited portion of it is, it's...
Well, they could have a limited portion of it and not play each other, of course. But,
right. But...
I say draft against each other. I guess they could play each other. I don't know how fruitful that would be, but sure.
Yeah. But I know that there have been a lot of takes about this, a lot of people surprised, but it doesn't surprise me that they're kind of making this. They really are going to continue to push Arena to the forefront. That's just how it's going to be. I think like that makes sense for Wizards for what they're trying to do with the product. If I don't know if it's like the best for Magic or the best for that top level, tournament or what have you. I think that can be argued. I think that having diversity in formats is important for that level of Magic, because people took different routes to get there. I guess they likely all played constructed. Yeah, likely all played a constructed format. But I don't know. Like I think like by just. I think like there is issues with standard fatigue that I think we've already felt. We've already had a plentiful amount of bannings within the format, and who's to say that when this rolls out that when we look at Theros and who knows what that might bring, like we won't be stuck in another like sort of miserable state of like a bad format, and then there's not really much where we're all bought into Arena being our primary product if we can't like flex into anything else. Now the upside of it being all Arena is like if you are a participant, you don't ever have to worry about getting cards because they'll all be provided to you by
right,
WotC, which is frankly, I mean, knowing that it's a new standard format, like not having to obtain my cards for depending on those players. I don't know if they have relationships with shops or anything like that would allow them to easily have access to cards or whoever, or sponsorships, or I don't know if cards is really on their concerns, but it's one of those things they don't have to worry about now, and it does narrow down their testing. They can focus on the one thing that's going to be there. You just kind of have to hope that it's good, and I can understand being wary that maybe WotC can't follow through with that simple ask. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, I don't know. I think like when you're talking about a smaller event, Arena makes sense to me for the visual aspect of it. But I think you lose out on it when I don't know. I know we're going to get a new type of season next year with like the obviously the Players Tour and things like that. But this parade of standard MCQs or Mythic Championship, I mean, at the end of this year, makes that decision just feel even worse because it's been so boring. Am I wrong?
Yeah.
It's just been very boring.
Yeah, I like we'll talk about the Mythic Championship that just happened over the weekend, and I think like when you look at the bannings, I do think that the format has benefited from it.
It certainly has,
but I don't necessarily think like the format itself is compelling. I played the standard format since the bannings, and like I liked I played like a little bit with the Jund Sacrifice deck, and like it was fun, and I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. It's I guess I should say it's definitely better than what it was. So
sure, I don't know. Maybe this is a separate conversation.
Oh, for sure, we can talk more about it once we get.
Well, I just mean like the concept of what like the standard is. But yeah, we can talk about it more with the championship. That's fine.
Yeah,
whatever you would like. So.
But like I said, it's going to be different, and it's going to be different just for the sheer fact that we're going to have a whole new set with new mechanics and everything like that.
Whole new set.
Which I'm pretty ready. I'm pretty ready to go back to Theros and to see like what's what. I'm pretty ready to see some new standard cards. I feel like we've seen a lot of Eldraine because Eldraine was so powerful. So a lot of those cards have just bled into other formats.
Well, that's what I was going to talk about. That's what I want to talk about. Yeah. That, like, the bannings have made Eldraine seem incredibly long, even though now we've technically had 3 different versions of Eldraine Standard.
Right.
Right, like, it just feels miserable.
Yeah, because I would say it just feels... it feels like we've seen it a lot more than what we would typically see in normal standard set because the cards have been so powerful.
The cards have been so powerful, and like so we did have 3 standard... Like, we've had 3 standard Mythic Championships with this technical standard format already.
Yes.
Like, since October. That's so much. It's too many.
Yeah, it is a lot. And it's...
I'm sure people winning the money don't think it's too many. I'm sure, like...
I mean, definitely...
I'm sure Canister this weekend was not like...
yeah,
I'd like this moment to say that there's been too many of these.
Yeah, definitely not. But... I do agree that it just feels like we've kind of had these changes to it, and it has felt longer in the tooth than we would normally feel a normal standard set being. But I mean, like at this point in time, with the fall set, this is kind of where it feels like you're ready for something new anyway.
Yeah, that's fair.
I feel like that this is sort of the natural progression that we always have towards, like, I definitely have felt this way about every fall set around December, and I'm like, all right, I'm done with this. And then it's like, oh wait, well, Magic's done with this too, so we can all just take a break from each other, and it's nice.
There's two kinds of people with Magic. The kind of people who are, excited to keep playing with their standard cards in December, and then the counting crows.
It's a long December. So moving on from talking about the World Championship that will be happening in February, but still sticking to Arena, we had the state of the game for December that has come out, and we had a few topics to discuss about that. So the first being, we had a performance check-in. There was an update in November, and it had a positive effect on people experiencing FPS drops as well as hitches. So hopefully, if you were a player that was being affected by this, you are seeing it less, which is good. They are still working on memory allocation usage, which is also known as memory leaks. And I'm sure you're working on it. I'm sure the Magic Online team's working on it. And they haven't figured it out ever since I've used Magic Online, which has been a long time.
So I gotta say, as a person who's about to be a parent for the first time, I'm excited that I get to start saying things like the entirety of my child's life, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I'll get to start using that as a metric for when Arena doesn't have things done.
Yeah. This hasn't been completed since the entire time my child has been alive.
Yeah, right? Like, that's good. That's exciting.
Yeah. To be fair, I'm sure you could probably do it for another thing. Like, you could probably say, Magic Online has had memory leaks since I've been married. You know what I mean?
Yep. It's, oh boy. Here's the thing, I haven't played it much recently, but it definitely has seemed better since the last update, so hopefully
I would agree.
Working.
I've been drafting some Throne of Eldraine. Like I said, I played a little bit of Standard, and I played it, and I haven't seen any significant issues. I'm playing on something that's pretty spec'd out for modern games, as it were. So I would hope that Arena was going to bog down my system, but it's been running fairly well. So
yeah, Morgan just like hip checked everybody there.
Listen, all right, I'm just giving people the I'm saying that I'm playing on something
very
beefy.
Wealthy.
That's not what I'm trying to say. All right.
No, it's that's the whole point. You inadvertently said it.
That's not fair.
Ask Warren for money. He has it.
Please don't. I literally just asked people for money at the top of the show. What are you talking about?
Different money.
Yeah, this different money.
Morgopoly money.
So after talking about the performance update, they talked about Brawl a little bit and something called Brawl-A-Days, which is that are going to be kicking off this week on the 12th. And it's going to be a sort of over a month-long event, so it's going to be from December 12th to January 16th. And it's going to be an event that you can enter and just play a bunch of Brawl matches pretty much any time that you want. It's going to have an entry cost. It's 10,000 gold or 2,000 gems, but that's a one-time fee. So it's sort of like a pass or something. Like you get a pass, you go into this queue. It's an always-on queue. Wednesday Brawl still stays the same, but here's where it gets weird, and it just has me scratching my head, and I just don't get it. So with this, they are going to be introducing a new card to Arena Brawl, and Arena Brawl specifically and exclusively. They're going to be introducing Reese the Redeemed into Arena Brawl, and I'm assuming that this can be both played within the tournament and on Wednesdays?
Yes, it's just legal in Brawl on Arena.
On Arena. Now, Paper Brawl, that doesn't change.
Right. You don't get it there. So,
which, if it did change, would be the wildest stuff right there. But Reese the Redeemed is like a very popular card in Commander. It's very powerful. If you don't know what it does, it's one green-white hybrid, so converted mana cost of 1 for a 1/1 legendary creature elf warrior. It has 2 green or white tap. Put a 1/1 green and white elf warrior creature token into play. It has 4 green-white hybrid. For each creature token you control, put a token into play that's a copy of that creature. So something that's really important to note is, like, obviously Celestia is still around.
Yeah.
So, like, creature tokens are still around in a pretty, heavy way. So it's not like this card's not going to see play. It's at a higher power level than we would typically see. I guess, theoretically.
How do you feel about 2 March of the Multitudes?
Yeah, no joke.
And to turn this, untap this.
It's just... It is a pretty powerful card to seed reduction.
So I told Morgan this. I don't mind the idea of like the season pass, like this is a league essentially, and you pay to get into that league. Like I'm okay with that. It's a good way for them to gauge how many people, like all these people on social media, like myself included, who have been like, why in the world can we only play on Wednesdays? Like this is a good gauge to see like, okay, like how bad do you want it? But the price doesn't feel exuberant to me. Like 2,000 gems is a lot, but like 10,000 gold is, 1 week's worth of like quests and grinding.
Yeah, you can accumulate it.
So that's not too bad.
And when you join, you get 1 copy of Reese.
Yeah, So like that part of it, I don't really like. I don't know what part of their maybe I'm just don't see it. Maybe I'm not part of that surveying. I don't know what part of their market research keeps saying add other cards to it. Like, why don't you trust your product to be good enough?
I don't know.
It is so weird to me. Like, I get it. Historic, I guess, is going to thrive off of this, so that's fine.
Yeah. So the other part of that is Reese will be then legal and historic as well. So,
but like, I don't understand it for this. Like, come play Brawl because you could play this commander, and I guess if you're a Reese commander player, maybe that gets you to play Brawl on Arena. But like, it's not going to be nowhere near the same.
No, not really.
So who's it for? I never know what anything is for anymore. I just know that like the last like 15 things they've done product wise, decision wise, I keep going, well, this isn't for me. But now I just don't know who it's for. So if you're really excited about Reese, I'm glad. There's no one in the world who could have been hoping for this, right? Like, man, I would just play Brawl if they would finally, stop with the oppression of Reese the Redeemed.
Yeah.
So it just seems weird. I will probably join this league so I can play more Brawl and to show hey, like I like this format and see where it goes from there. But
good news, you have a green-white deck that you have in paper. So if you wanted to, just throw Reason there. And it'd be really good in that deck.
Not in paper, though.
I mean, not in paper, but online. Build it online. Throw it in there.
That's I guess. I will. I'm going to put it in there. You're going to
have to. I mean,
but whatever.
Well, just saying. So now, mentioning historic, there are going to be some things going along with that as well. So the first thing is we're getting some cards suspended.
So they're going to get 3 counters on them.
Yeah, correct, and then they'll come into play after that. No, so the cards getting suspended are, some of the cards you might expect. We have Oko, Thief of Crowns, Field of the Dead, Once Upon a Time, and Veil of Summer. Now, you might ask, what the hell does suspension mean? And that's
might ask. You definitely did.
That's a fair question. So suspensions basically mean these cards will not be available for play while they are suspended, and it is something that is going to be divergent from an actual ban list, because the ban list has this sense of like permanence behind it, and with the suspension list, that it's more fluid, basically, is kind of how they were angling it. They were saying that this is something that could change more fluidly, more quickly than you would typically see on a actual ban list, even though effectively suspending a card and banning the card are the same thing. Except I don't think you get refunded for these cards.
Oh well, no. So it says that suspension is there's a defined element of time. Suspension is also a temporary measure. All the cards we're suspending here will be removed from the suspension list by or before the ranked historic queue returning in March. So it's saying that they're suspended now, but then when a bunch more cards have been added, when that comes back, they'll try it again.
Gotcha. So, or they'll just move them to the ban list.
Yeah, well, I don't know how
the
many
other side of that coin.
This is like a 3-strike policy for Oko.
Why I expect that these cards just get moved to the ban list.
Oko, this is the 3rd time you've been drunk in public. This is it.
Listen,
3-strike policy.
3-strike policies are bad, first and foremost. secondly, these cards are just going to get banned.
Yeah, and I'm not saying they're good. WotC is doing them. Obviously, it's bad.
But no, these cards are they're just going to sit on the suspend list, and then they're going to get banned. So, like, I don't really know what we're doing here. I guess technically you already did get refunded for these cards, but...
So this is all about semantics. It's all it is.
Yeah.
It's all about banned is a word that now has a super negative connotation because of how much they've had to pull the trigger. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go to Channel Fireball's Twitter and look for their most recently updated In Memoriam segment, which has like 30 cards on it from the last year.
Yeah.
It's been a wild year. Now, granted,
Sure
some of that
has.
also includes like Pioneer, so that's a little bit different, but it's very, very funny. So I think like this is them saying like, okay, a digital version of the game can be more flexible about this. We have a digital only format in Historic. We need a different word. Now, of course, banned and suspended. The difference there is the concept of permanence. If something is banned, you feel like it's gone for a long time. Suspended is not, right?
Theoretically.
It is odd that they still went with the words that are associated with like their DCI list or formerly their DCI list. Like, so they still sound punitive. Which, like, if you're going for when you're talking about semantics and connotation, if you're a person who's in marketing or you've test grouped anything, like the way that words cause people to feel is a very important idea. So like suspended still feels punitive, especially in Magic terms. So I don't know if it's the best choice there, but I think it does communicate very simply that like, it's gone, but for not as long. And I think that's all they wanted to have as an idea.
Yeah, maybe. And that might be more relevant when we have different suspensions down the road.
Sure.
These cards are definitely
like an SUV suspension compared to like a car suspension.
You gotta get that lifted, man. Gotta get that lift kit. Anyway, but for these cards specifically, it's like, no. Like, at the very least, like, 3 of the 4 cards in this list are already banned in Pioneer. So it's like, these cards are getting, like, they're getting banned.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
And, like you could make a strong argument that Oko should be banned in Pioneer. So, like,
yeah,
it
it
be
probably
banned.
will be. Like, so here's the thing. I do think that they have the ability to add answers into Historic.
That is unique
if they want to keep those cards in there. But, like, that feels like a weird thing. Like, how many cards do you have to add to the format before a certain card is balanced? And then, like, how do those interact with the rest of them? This is the idea that, like, we had mice, so we got a bunch of cats, right?
We have all these cats.
But now we have all these cats, so we got a bunch of dogs, right? And then we got a bunch of lions for the dogs. And then we got a bunch of, I don't know, what eats lions?
Humans, technically.
Super lions.
Well, I mean...
The Detroit Lions.
I don't know if that's...
How else do they gain their power?
I don't think we can accuse the Detroit Lions for eating lions.
I'm not accusing of anything. I'm saying that there's only one way to gain a lion's power.
Well, I guess I didn't know that, but now I know.
That was satire. Don't eat a lion. You're not going to get anything but, like, arrested.
Arrested and prosecuted.
Just like standing at the zoo, just licking your lips. Sir, what are you doing? I need some of that lion.
You gotta get some of the lion powers.
If I ate a little bit of haunch, it'd grow back.
Terrible. Do you think that's why, like, Craven the Hunter was, like, so powerful?
Craven. What are you craving? Lion meat.
How do you think I got this mane vest?
Because I ate the rest of the lion. The mane was the only thing left.
I used every part of the lion. So there's also going to be a couple of historic events that are going to be happening. So we have Historic Artisan, which I don't know if you know what the Artisan format is, but it's Peasant. So it's common and uncommon cards only.
Because we needed new names.
Yeah. So that's happening next week from December 20th to December 30th. So maybe not. Is that next week?
Next Friday.
Next Friday.
20th.
Okay. And then there's going to be something that you might actually like, Ranked Dominaria Draft.
No, I
is
saw
actually
that.
coming
I
back.
did see that. And I do like that because that's a good format.
So that's January 3rd through January 16th if you want to participate in that. And then from January 11th to the 13th, we'll also be introducing the Historic Challenge, a constructed best-of-3 event with a high entry fee and prizes to match. So getting 8 wins in this lets you 15 gold, 40 historic boosters, the card Treasure Hunt, and then Gaia's Cradle card sleeve.
Yeah, that's kind of sweet. The Cradle card sleeves go all the way down to 5 wins, and honestly, that's the literal best idea to play Historic I've seen so far. Is to get Cradle sleeves. I'm not going to. So.
Yeah, the event costs 10,000 gold or 2,000 gems. So, and lastly, for State of the Game is deck sorting. So we're going to be able to sort decks.
So can we talk about this? It says deck sorting. Ellipses. Do we need to say more? Yes, of course you do.
Yes, you do.
Your deck sorting's been trashed, so it's just we have it now. You're welcome.
Great, thank you. Also, no updates on any sort of social functionality.
No, the friends list is not in here at all.
Nope, definitely not.
Yeah, you'll get it when Portal comes out.
Yep, still waiting on both those. So.
Neat.
So that's
I go to Carrie's Twitter.
So those are all the arena updates that we have at the moment. Still a thing. Yep. I don't really have anything else about Arena.
No.
I don't know. Something that I think was interesting was, and that I encourage you to maybe check out if you enjoy their content. The professor had a discussion with Pleasant Kenobi about a sort of thought experiment of things that Wizards could be initiating to sort of signal the end of supporting competitive paper play within Magic. So not necessarily stopping printing the paper cards or anything like that, but actually just stopping supporting competitive play. And I thought it was a pretty interesting sort of experiment. And that was before they announced that the World Championship was actually going to be arena only, which is kind of an interesting thing to kind of roll down the pipeline. But I enjoyed watching it. I thought there was a lot of good arguments. I know that that's definitely a discussion that is being had or being thought about, at least by a lot of different players. So, I mean, I think there's compelling arguments for both sides of it too.
I think there is. I think that if you, and I haven't seen that, so I will take a look at it. So I'll make some broad assumptions, but recognize that I'm not doing that based off of that specific conversations. I will say, if WotC actually has internal plans for that, right, as of right now, I don't believe in their competency.
Sure.
They accidentally started Arena, the way it was. Literally, Arena took off faster than they thought, and they hastily made a thing around it. The fact that we ended up over a year with Arena and then almost a full year of Arena competitive play, with the MPL and stuff, before we had a structure as to what that meant, their planning steps are way behind because they caught lightning in a bottle with Arena, right? Which is good for the company, but if you're really writing, sorry, Metallica, don't sue. If you're writing the Lightning, right, not to make a quick aside, but if you see the new Wonder Woman trailer, she definitely does that. And I definitely out loud, by myself was because she whips the lightning with her,
yes.
And then she, whatever, and Spider-Man swings on it, and I went, did she whip the lightning? I looked around, I knew I was alone, but I was I need to ask somebody.
How does that work?
Is this canon?
So when she whipped the lightning, did the lightning have to tell the truth?
Shocking! I remember there was an old Disney movie in the 90s called Tall Tales when they showed the wrangling the tornado, and that's what it reminded me of. It was just
I remember that.
This is fact. So it's not a good movie. That's not a good movie.
Probably not. I said I remember it. I don't remember it well.
We can watch it right now, though. It's definitely on Disney Plus.
That's not shocking.
No, but the lightning is. Anyways, going back to
how does she not get? Does her lasso not conduct electricity?
Apparently not. She's wearing metal armor when she's doing it.
None of this makes sense, and I did watch that, and now I have so many more questions than I thought when I actually watched it.
Yeah, no, I looked around. And I was like, did she?
Did she just do that?
Okay.
I don't know the metaphysics behind that, but I'm pretty sure that can't happen.
It happens in 84. Let's see here. When was Ride the Lightning? I don't know if Ride the Lightning happened yet or not. I have to check album-wise.
Yeah.
It's got to be pretty close.
Because if it didn't, then we know how it got inspired. They saw Wonder Woman.
They saw Wonder Woman in real life, though, right? Because not the movie.
No,
Ride the Lightning, the movie, the album came out in 1984.
Okay.
Okay, so I like what we're doing here.
So what you're basically telling me is when she's doing that, the song that's going to be playing is definitely
Oh, it has to be for sure. I want to see like full on the Irishman de-aged, like Kirk or no, not, he was actually the guitarist, like Lars Ulrich, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
de-aged. And he's like, give me a pen. I got an idea for a jam.
Well, no, it's actually his cousin, and he holds the phone up to the lightning.
Lars, got that sound you've been looking for. What is that? It sounds like somebody whipping some lightning. Yeah, but like she's using it to like
For transportation.
Transportation. You mean like riding?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Anyway,
hey,
go watch that trailer, I guess.
It's a good song. Anyways, back to catching lightning with this. So like, if they actually have plans to like transfer this now, maybe they've had a plan like that in mind, like for years of like, in this scenario, here's how this happens. But like, I don't think that they have the, how do I say this, the prominence in the digital marketplace yet for this to be an actual reality they have a plan for. Like, they are definitely strong, right? But their streaming still is not touching other esports. It just isn't. Like, their major events aren't touching those numbers. And we have a lot of evidence, fairly damning evidence in the last year that even some of the larger numbers, like the Mythic Invitational, are very much inflated.
Yeah.
Right? So like, I don't see the ubiquity in the marketplace, despite the fact that like Magic is this thing.
Yeah, and realistically, their conversation was framed with the next 5 years.
No,
too.
sure, for sure. But like again, like how can you plan for that in the next 5 years if you don't know, right? Like as Magic exists, like right, like you can't tell me that Arena is as popular as it is because of the interface of Arena. Like that helps, but it's popular because of Magic. You know what I mean? That's why Magic Online it still exists. Like nobody would be playing Magic Online if it wasn't the game Magic. And we've seen, Artifact now and like everything else like go down. And we have some really strong competitors in this marketplace that are really coming out. We have the League of Legends game,
Runeterra.
and what's the other one? I saw April. Cube April or
She was talking about Runeterra.
Was it Runeterra? Okay, yeah. So like I think they have to be cognizant of these things. And if Hasbro's looking down and saying do this, and that's an actual directive to come up with a plan, even if it's the next 5 years, that feels incredibly foolish to me because the way the marketplace has gone and the decisions that WotC has made in this last year, that does nothing about that signals stable. And Arena has to be stable and in that top three of the market share for card game esports for I think you to be able to consider making that decision.
Yeah.
So if they get there in the next 5 years, then I think whatever plan they have starts to come together. I have a hard time believing they have a plan for anything right now. Maybe that's just me being cynical, but like everything this year has been let's throw everything at the wall and see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had 2 secret set releases in the last month.
Yeah, and part of the argument that was had by the professor playing sort of the devil's advocate, the cynical outlook is like, this is them trying to literally release every single paper product that they can to milk the audience. So that was his cynical take, obviously.
No, and that's a fair assessment of that. Here's what I'll say. I will be more open to that argument and understanding of that argument when I see a true plan for how they bring Pioneer to Arena.
Yeah,
when I see a release model of that, because Pioneer has been so popular so quickly and has forced stores, even local stores here, to run paper events before they were meant to, right? Mm-hmm. Once Arena has a plan of how to bring that format forward, then I'll be like, yes, this is it. Yeah. This is the Nell.
And to be honest, I'd really like to see how Pioneer fares in having a true competitor in a good standard format.
Yeah, well, that's true too. Yeah, but Pioneer, again, a lot of WotC's good things is that they have a good game, and then they trip into good decisions seemingly.
Literally stumble into like gold.
And that's unfair because like obviously like that's popular because like they made good decisions with what their bandlists look like. Like this has been a good experiment for them.
Yeah.
Like I'm not just saying they don't make good decisions. Obviously, there's some, but it does seem like they do stumble into these things because again they didn't realize what was going to happen with like Pioneer.
No.
You know what I mean? Like neither did we. Like we were tentatively like, okay, this is interesting, but even I'm pretty sure I'm on here saying like, oh boy, this is a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? And I'll be very honest, Pioneer has caused me to not play any Standard. I've had no incentive to. I bought the season pass for for Eldraine. I'm at like level 50. I should be able to cap out.
Yeah.
I'm just not.
Right. Because I get it. Like you want to play the format that is exciting and like full of things you want to do. I feel like as good as the Standard they can make with the small sets, you can't do everything that you want to do, right?
It's not just that. I think that's the problem is that like arena-based Standard, like I know it's been a criticism of Standard for a long time, but arena-based Standard, I mean, Eldraine's been solved 3 times in 2 months.
Oh yeah,
it's been solved. I mean, flat out, entirely solved.
Yeah, I think like that's always going to be a problem. Though. I think like there's such a large amount of people playing the game that have like social media has like been a very difficult thing for WotC to counteract, right?
Sure, and I think that's true for all competitive games.
Yeah, 100%.
Like it certainly is. Like, you know, when I was a kid and I would play a game, even though it was an MMO, like I would have to like go to GameFAQs to look up someone's hand typed like walkthrough to understand a best strat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you honestly in recent years have, because you've been such a big fan of good games done quick, that like that has caused me to like some games that I think A, I'm fairly good at, or B, were foundational experiences for me. And I'm not talking multiplayer games.
Yeah.
But like watching someone else play them with an expertise blows my mind because I just didn't know. Magic doesn't have that anymore.
Yeah.
It used to. It doesn't really have that anymore. That expertise factors, some players are still very, very good. Like, we'll talk about the Mythic Championships here shortly. Cannister's one of those players who is incredibly talented and who has made a rise because of that. But I think like at the end of the day, like you don't have that element of like someone being so supremely better at like one thing or coming up with that deck that does that. You have people who excel at certain things, like look at Canister PV. But Standard in general, though, is like because of the like high level MPL play and because of this arena streaming, outside of like what MTG Goldfish, like Saffron Olive, who's brewing? You don't need to because it's all about getting to Mythic, right? Like Arena doesn't incentivize other things. Like Magic Online incentivizes you to do different things because like maybe you're trying to get your list published. Right? Like you're grinding something a little more tangible in leagues or in like those events. Because Arena doesn't have the payoff of your PTQs or it'd be outside of getting to Mythic so you can get into the MCQ, right? Like there's not something that incentivizes you to try and do something different to gain notoriety. Like you just do the one thing really, really well. So Pioneer like is something that like people are going out and testing, and that will change. Modern was like that for both of us for a long time, and Modern's gotten super stale. Modern Horizons sort of really broke the format in a way that's not good.
That's just not enjoyable anymore, and I think that's unfortunate because I think like for the longest time you couldn't find bigger advocates for Modern than this podcast than the various hosts.
No, we called it the people's format.
We did, and I just
here's the thing: Pioneer might be the people's format.
I think that I mean it's just the fact that the focus has shifted, and I think Pioneer is something that we can have hope in because the format is meant to be dynamic for this small period of it's supposed to be broken so it can be fixed, and then they're kind of letting Modern exist in its current state, and it's just not something that we engage with. Not to say that other players don't, but I've heard plenty of people kind of bemoan the existence of Urza and kind of be like, this card's too powerful, or bemoan the existence of Mox Opal still within the format. And I think like there's no end of that in sight, and that is, you either are in for it and you want to engage with that kind of metagame, or you're off it. And there will be a time where they make adjustments or to the format, or things become less popular. We have more answers, more avenues to challenge sort of the best decks that exist, and then maybe Modern becomes more appealing. But here's the thing, like, I don't have to, like, there is the very real fact, the very real idea that with Pioneer, I have a bulk of the cards I need to play it. And with Modern, I will never have that.
Yeah.
And that it personally influences me in what format I'm interested in.
Sure.
And like that's unfortunate because I don't think I can go back to really being as invested into Modern because it's going to be new Legacy and it's going to be inaccessible for a lot of people. And that's why it's going to not be the people's format anymore because it's just going to be not something that people can attain.
Yeah.
And I think like that was an eventuality, like that was going to happen at some point in time. And you would hope that WotC would be there to curb that, to prevent that in some way. But none of the things they did enough damage to stop the secondary market from being the way that it was. Now, it'll never get as bad as Legacy. I don't really think it'll get as bad as Legacy.
No, I don't think it can just because of the sheer fact that there is no list that's there's no reserve list for Modern. So whenever they want to pop that top,
they can.
Right.
And maybe they won't stop. You know, that's what I'm hoping. It's the Pringle
it's tough
effect.
When you do pop. Yeah, the Pringle. As economists have known for years, the Pringle effect.
The Pringle effect. So like there's that, and we'll see. Like maybe something will come along, and really change my mind about that. But it's been the same thing for years now. Once you get down to it and really decide how you feel about the format and how you look at the decks, that I'm just kind of tired of it. So like I'm not going to be invested in the format until like I need to. Now I know you will need to. There's going to be a team Modern Open that you're
yeah, but I'm just running Snowblade. Yeah, I mean that's how Modern's been. Like I think we've done a good job. I know you sell out of some of that stuff more often than some of us. But like I know myself and former host Dave, like we can play large amounts of the Modern format. So I don't really need to do much else to shift around there. Like the only things I technically need for that deck are Misty's when I'm borrowing Dave's.
Right.
And like I have the fetch lands I need to play. Death Shadow or any blue-red variant deck or Burn or a lot of decks. I can't play Jund or things like that, but I can play most builds of blue-white control depending on like if I can snag some Jace the Mind Sculptors or not. Yeah. So like it's just one of those things where like I don't mind sitting on that stuff. Like if it becomes a new Legacy, then my Scalding Tarns are just $150 and who cares? You know what I mean? Like that's how Legacy players felt before. And if my Tarns continue to be $50, like instead, because I've dropped down a little bit with Pioneer being, then I'm okay with that too, because like I don't plan on getting rid of them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But like all of my card, like any of it, not that I've been doing a ton of it, but all of my card acquisitions have been Pioneer, like since Pioneer came out. Yeah. Right, and that just makes sense buying into new format anyways, but it just like there are cards I still technically needed and wanted from Modern, and now I just don't feel like I need to do that. Now I'm just going to buy Pioneer cards. So I think that's an interesting conversation. I know we got way off track there, but I think like it's something worth revisiting. But I think like WotC, I would need to feel like WotC's finally turned a corner on having a company plan that makes sense, right? For me to agree with that assessment. Now, before we move on to competitive, I do want to say I looked up Carrie's Twitter, and if you don't know, @StillCarrie, one of the hosts of the Vorthos podcast, the best Magic troll. Like, I just want you to understand that they are one of the best Magic trolls. But they said, they tweeted, right on brand, the real reason MTG Arena will never fully replace Paper Magic is that you can actually make a list of your friends in Paper Magic. The first response to that, too, is in Paper Magic, every day can be Wednesday.
Those are so great, perfect.
But I just like that whatever, that's literally what I'm talking about. Every time WotC makes a decision, I can go to my local troll because that decision will have something stupid in it, and that local troll can tell me exactly how stupid it is. So yeah, this is just like life now. Do you want to do that cool little ad break there, and then we can go into the Mythic Championship?
Yeah, sure. I did want to
We're getting stopped. Sorry, buddy.
I did want to mention that there are some new Judge promos that are going to be coming out for the was this the conference, the Judge conference that's going to be happening. We talked about, we're not talked about, but they already released some tutors that they're going to be doing. It's like like Demonic Tutors getting a new promo, and they're going to have this new sort of owl sort of whatchamacallit, like watermark and whatever. It looks bad. I want to see it in person before we give a full judgment, but the images that we've seen look pretty rough. The owl does not look very it looks kind of dumb. I'm gonna put it out there. But the conference ones are gonna be Sylvan Tutor and Arena Rector, and the Arena Rector definitely has what looks to be Elspeth on it. I'm just saying, like, that's exactly what it looks like. I'm going to show it to Mike here, but it's like Theros Elspeth, but not Theros, not Elspeth. But that's the mask that they depicted her in, and that's not.
That looks like her weapon, but
it's not God's End. It's
or
God's End or whatever. It's fake one.
Okay, so I'm just gonna ask a weird question because I'm pretty colorblind though. What is her skin tone there?
I don't know. I think like the entire thing. I think all the art is very not accurate to what the art.
Are they trying to Gideon her?
I don't know,
because she's super pale.
Yeah.
Like I hope.
And again, like this might not.
That's just like I don't. Like, WotC's got to stop doing that. They got to stop taking like white planeswalkers and then pretending that they have been like people of color the whole time. Like, look, it was diversity the whole time. It wasn't. I promise it wasn't.
So, but again, like I don't even like we don't even know if that is that's just art on a card.
It certainly checks out.
It's evoking that, but. I don't know how canonically that would make sense because Academy
maybe
Rector
it's like
a
Elspeth's champion.
Maybe,
like, you know what I mean. Like, I don't know. Maybe Elspeth's the god now.
No, maybe I don't know.
Great.
Anyway, I just thought that was interesting art for people that are into that sort of thing. I don't know if it's what it means or anything like that, but it's out there, and give your own opinions about the stupid owl watermark.
So I want to say the idea behind the owl is understandable.
Yeah, for sure.
If you read the blog post, I don't remember what her name is who wrote it.
I can't remember either.
It's on the Judge whatever it is, the Judge's website now.
Right.
But she talked about like she wanted to be evocative of like we are mentors, we are literally tutors, and like the owl is a symbol associated with that. I like that. The owl symbol as far as a set symbol, like I think it looks a little derpy, but it's fine.
Yeah.
I think the watermark again on the image looks bad. It is distracting. Judge promos get like their own unique art, so like we shouldn't be trying to actively distract from that art. So I don't know. And maybe in foil it won't seem like sometimes we see that with those watermarks where when the card is meant to be foil and they put that watermark on it, when we see a picture of it, and not like a picture of the card in the wild, but an image file of the card. So maybe it'll look better. But
yeah, and that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that in person that they look a little bit different. So. And who knows? But I just kind of wanted to. I saw it and I was like, I want to take a look at this. So, but that was the last thing. So we can move into obviously talking about Comic Town. So, Comic Town is our lovely local sponsor here in Columbus, Ohio, and they do not have any upcoming tournaments, but I know it is the holiday season here in the States. So if you are a local shopper, be sure to go to there and pick out some awesome gifts for your friends and family.
It's pronounced gifts.
I hate you. And you can also visit their website at worldofcomictown.com for any upcoming sort of sales or deals that they have going on currently inside of the store. So thank you so much, Comic Town, for being a sponsor. So next up, we're going to talk about competitive. So we had a Mythic Championship over the weekend. It was an Arena Mythic Championship. It was Mythic Championship, 7?
Yes.
And so standard only, and we kind of already discussed that it was indeed won by Peter Golgoski, right? Canister, as he is also known as. And a real card, I might say.
Well, not yet, but if he wins the world championship,
I mean, that's true. But you know what I mean. So I think he's known for sort of.
Here's the thing: I've been pretty negative about him before. The Mythic Invitational was my first real encountering of him, and he left a bad taste in my mouth as far as like I don't find him to be. I don't know. This is where I start to sound like an old man because like streaming culture, we're like, yeah, I get it. You have to entertain the masses, but then like in the Mythic Invitational, he just came off like a jerk who like put a hat on to do his like Fortnite emotes to people. But I think like one of the things that has been true since the Mythic Invitational, regardless of like I don't watch his streams because I don't find like that style great. His Magic playability is top notch. His deck building is top notch.
Sure.
And like this is the easiest thing to see coming like across this year. Like he was going to win one of these events.
Yeah, I definitely could agree with that. He played Jund Sacrifice, beating Brad Nelson in the finals, playing Simic Flash, which Simic Flash was kind of the deck of the weekend.
Wait, he played Brad Nelson in the finals?
That's what second place says.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Champion. I'm on MTG Goldfish.
So here's the thing. We watched almost pretty much all of Saturday.
Yeah.
But we were in Cleveland for the Browns game on Sunday.
Didn't watch any Sunday.
Definitely was looking at the extended bracket. My apologies. Because there's the grand finals and the
right, correct.
Not your grandpa's finals.
Yeah, they had like a losers scrum at the end to filter in the last opponent or what have you. So
right.
And then the rest is we have first and second, then we have eighth on the actual list. So the rest of the top 8 was Chris Kvartek playing Golgari Adventure. Paulo Vitor Dama-de-Rosa playing Jeskai Fires. Miguel da Cruz Simoes playing Jund Sacrifice. Javier Dominguez playing Simic Flash. Andrea Mengucci playing Simic Ramp. And then Seth Manfield playing Simic Flash. So, definitely a ton of names. I feel like the arena the championships are pretty top heavy with names, to be perfectly honest. So it's not surprising for a lot of cream to kind of rise to the top here.
That's what he said. The cream rises.
But definitely a lot of top names kind of showing up here. Now we did watch a lot of Saturday's coverage. And most of the time it was, definitely muted or low volume or what have you, because we were participating in the Cube Invitational, a very serious, important event, which was won by none other than guest of the show, former guest of the show, Brian Keller. So congratulations to Brian Keller for winning, even though he kind of complained about everything leading up to it. So and still won.
Like a begrudging congratulations.
A begrudging congratulations to you, sir.
I was a tilt monster in that event. 3-0 the draft, 0-3 our sealed. It was great.
Sorry, that's rough.
It was 3 straight win-ins, top 4, and I decided no, I didn't want to do that.
It's tough.
So such is life.
Such is life. It's always next year.
Yeah, I've been a Cleveland sports fan for a long time, so I'm familiar with that phrase.
It's full of next years. So, was there anything that you kind of wanted to pull out? I think, overall, like I said before, I think the bands were good for the format. I don't think we see anything that. I think we definitely see a lot of interesting sort of decks that are still kind of focused on you have the Jund Sacrifice and Golgari Sacrifice and stuff like that. So they're sort of built around the food mechanic. So even without Oko, these decks are still sort of existing. Simic Flash is kind of interesting. We knew that was sort of a known quality. Before, we had those Simic aggro decks that were kind of Flash based, and they kind of shifted into this. And then, Golgari Adventure is kind of interesting as well. That uses the Edgewall Innkeeper, kind of generating card advantage through that card, and just having a bunch of 2-for-1s in your deck, which is turns out to be pretty good. I think it's pretty shocking how I guess I've forgotten how expensive Standard is all these decks are like $300 something, which is pretty wild.
I mean, they'll have like multiple copies of Fabled Passage and like Hydroid Krasis.
That's true. Hydroid Krasis.
So here's my takeaway as far as like where WotC's at and where the Standard is at. Like, you still have to play a green deck no matter all of these bannings. Like you are playing like even like is it Gilded Goose? Is it is it the adventure package that is with his Innkeeper and Lovestruck Beast? Is it Hydroid Krasis Nissa?
Yeah.
Right. Like, you're still doing that. The only deck in the top 8 that doesn't have green in it is actually PV's Jeskai Fire's deck, which is a fairly interesting build, but like it's super telling. If you look at his deck, he has 2 main deck copies of Aether Gust.
Oh, for sure.
So you know what I mean? So like you're still pre-boarding in this format, despite having banned how many green cards are banned in Standard 3?
Yeah.
So, this is why this format feels the way it does. Because, like, even when you've banned 3 green cards and a Simic card out of the format, Simic is still the top deck.
Yeah.
Or one of the top decks.
And like, Aether Gust, like, is just perfect to have in your main deck, because then you can just, like, even interact with other people's, Fires of Invention.
Yeah.
Or anything like that. So it just, like, is very effective.
Now, I'm not taking anything away. I think some of these decks are pretty interesting. I think, like, the Jund Sacrifice deck is just good, and, like, it makes me happy that, like, Korvold's seeing some amount of play. And, like, the Simic Flash decks, like, we already knew that, like, Flash was going to be pretty good, but, like, that deck had an issue with, like, some of the better cards, like Oko couldn't go into honestly Veil of Summer was incredibly powerful against those decks, and like the field of the decks even before that were like just like if you didn't present a clock fast enough that and you can't counter lands, so so seeing those come into play and like seeing the build shift on those where they're not just as much before they were very, very low to the ground, right? But now these decks are playing Gadwick, the Wizened. And
when you're talking about like, was Simic Flash playing Gadwick as well?
I believe it was. I think that's Manfield is. If you look at his list,
so because I know that there's also an Is It Flash variant that is,
and that was pretty popular, and I think like that is cool to see. Looking at Seth Manfield's list here, let's see here. Maybe he doesn't have Gadwick. I thought he did. I thought somebody's build was like in between, like was in the middle of this. But like here you have like Paradise Druid, which is not what this deck's doing, and Hydroid Krasis, and this is Shakes the World. That is not what those original blue-green Flash decks.
Oh, definitely not.
So,
and I mean, like even this deck has main deck Aether Gust. It's just it is, it is showing and telling how like.
I get it.
Wildly shifted, the format still is, how powerful green still is, and there definitely needs, it feels like there needs to be some sort of course correction to kind of straighten out the format to have it not be so heavily saturated in one particular color. I feel like that's what's so difficult about this format, because when you think about other standard formats, and not saying it's necessarily always fair to compare current standard to other standards, but maybe you look at things with like rose-tinted glasses or what have you, but it always felt like, when you look at good standards, standards that people really enjoyed, you definitely had sort of a balance of colors that could be effective. Now, I will also concede the fact that a lot of like good standards people look back on were heavily multicolored influenced, which helped that, right? So, you look at Con standard, you look at, RTR standard, these were multicolored, like, focused or at least leaned towards sets that gave you an ability to play a lot of colors. So, when you think of Cons, you had, Abzan, you had Jeskai, you had Mardu, you had definitely a lot of archetypes, you had Sultai that was even like, playable. So it's when you look at that, you feel a balance, even if there isn't one, you feel a balance, right?
Right. I don't disagree with that at all. I think that like part of the issue here is that we're still seeing the punishing effects of War of the Spark.
Yeah.
And Nissa specifically being like one of the planeswalkers there. But even like Teferi, little Teferi is still sitting here in the Jeskai Fires deck. But like, so when you look at if one of the best cards you can play in Standard is Nissa, right? And then you look at Hydroid Krasis, which is like obviously incredibly powerful, it works perfectly with Nissa. Then you are incentivized to playing like these green ramp cards, right? But in addition to that, we have some of the best like mana creatures that you've had access to. Like think about this, Incubation Druid's not seeing play anymore.
Nope.
Incubation Druid's a good 2-mana dork.
Yeah.
Like, it really is. You had a lot of ways to put counters on it, and ways to make that card work. But it's not even good enough, because instead you can play your 1-mana creature that also gains you a bunch of life throughout the game. And we've seen some games where Gilded Goose just lives forever, right? Mm-hmm. And then Paradise Druid, which ensures you're going to get to ramp into, outside of things like Deafening Clarion, you are going to get to use it for the spell you want to cast. So you are incentivized to play these cards and play these Planeswalkers, and it is frustrating to see that keep pushed there. Those better formats we talk about, are usually not dominated by a specific Planeswalker. You know what I mean? They just aren't. We've had a couple that have been very, very powerful. And even Khans, you definitely had Jace, Vryn's Prodigy. You know what I mean? But it was also a creature with 2 toughness that you could just kill. So when you look at those things, that's kind of frustrating to build around that. And then I do think that they need to maybe. I've been thinking about this more and more when looking at the cards they have to get rid of. They really need to reevaluate, I think, card advantage in general and how liberal they are in giving it out, not just in green, but mostly in green right now.
Yeah.
And you have 2 mechanics in Eldraine that literally are card advantage. We saw clues be very, very good.
Yeah.
In Shadows, and obviously food are not clues, but they extend. If 3 life extends a game an extra turn, then it is a card.
Yeah,
that's
card advantage. Yeah.
It is always there, and it's definitely its advantage in general, just because it changes that scape to the game. And then when you look at adventure creatures in general, you know what I mean? They also increase your card advantage to the game. So you have the adventure deck gets to exist because Innkeeper lets you draw so many extra cards. Clover lets you take a card that's already a 2-for-1 and make it a 3-for-1, or a 4-for-1, depending on what the effect is.
Yeah.
Jeskai Fires lets you double up your mana each turn. The advantages they're giving in singleton cards, and it worries me because we already had that article from Play Design that said Eldraine's where we want to be, power level wise. But if everything is just pure card advantage, then you're just going to figure out what's the best card advantage engine, and you're just going to play them. And now it's Nissa Hydroid Krasis.
Yeah.
You're just going to play them, or it's Witch's Oven,
Cat.
and Cat. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. So, and it's even those decks can't get away from playing green, can't get away from playing Gilded Goose. So I think that if you're going to continue to use these mechanics that are game extenders, you do have to find a way to get them into other colors. You do have to find a way to make, because food is technically, I think, in all colors, right? Maybe does red not make any food? Black makes food.
Blue makes food.
Blue makes food. Yeah, because you're the one that turns into pumpkins. Mm-hmm. Makes food. Mm-hmm. Green makes food.
Definitely.
I can't think of a white card that makes food.
I don't think white.
Nope, the cow. The 3/3 cow makes food.
Oh yeah.
When it dies.
Barred cow.
So red.
I don't know that limited, because those are all limited cards,
no,
right?
But sure, but they've already decided red doesn't get to do this, and red is a color that outside of fires is not playable.
No, there's not a good mono red deck or anything.
Which is sad,
that.
because I think Bone Crusher Giant is a cool card. But
yeah,
I feel like when when you take a mechanic like that, to 2 of them in the same format, right? Here's these little life gain bubbles to extend games, and here's every creature as a 2-for-1. Then we forced out aggro pretty much entirely. There wasn't an aggro deck represented here. You know what I mean? The adventure decks are at this point playing main deck Massacre Girl, that's even terrifying to me too. Those decks are okay with killing their whole board if they have to, because don't worry, they'll recoup. You know what I mean? So I think it's just frustrating design for that, and green continues to be too powerful. So, and I'm not looking for more bannings. I don't think a simple another singleton card ban actually fixes this.
No,
I think it is a symptom of this format and of this standard that I hope they learn from.
Yeah, I think it's something where they have to introduce other things that are, capable of producing some sort of counterplay, some sort of leveling of the playing field, basically.
Yeah.
So,
I do want to make mention quickly so we should talk about PV's Fires list. Cool card that I think that he had a 4 of in that list is Sphinx of Foresight.
Yeah, that's been a popular thing on that I've seen on Arena when I was playing a little bit of Standard before which makes sense. Being able to sort of set things up is very handy.
Well, like it allows you to dig for fires
and then set it up so you don't draw until you can play it.
100%. Like yeah. So you could then you draw gas for your fires. So I think that's definitely very good. And obviously the Cavalier plan is great for that. I think even 3 copies of Shimmer Possibility tells you this deck is all about getting fires into play. And honestly, when you look at the format at large, you have essentially Brazen Borrower and then some copies of Thrashing Brontodon and some of in the green decks as ways to interact with it. But for a lot of decks, if you don't hit one of those specific cards, if this card comes into play, then it just is.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that PB is able to progress so far. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say even Sphinx's Foresight is sometimes just your plan B way of winning too. It's just a big flyer.
Yeah, it just attacks Elspeth or not Elspeth. Now I'm talking about Elspeth because I like Nissa really well.
Yeah,
and it just does that, which is pretty great. Also, welcome back Kenrith, the Return King. He left again.
He's returned,
but now that he can't be turned into an elk by Oko in this format, correct. I guess the card Kenrith's Transformation could still do it. But
technically, yes.
So. I do want to say shout out to Allie Warfield, who had a really good showing on day 2 and was 3-0 on day 2 at one point.
Yeah, she was making a run for it.
Had a real tough end of the day there, but I think when you suggest day 2, I know that some of the once again, the sort of the challenger and special invites get criticism. And as you said, the day 2 in these arena Mythic Championships, as you rightly said, are super top heavy. So she had a great run. And when you look at the list of names that are around her, it's pretty impressive. So good job to her.
Yeah, and the other thing that did come out of that is we do have our next MPL members, our next rivals or challengers or what have you, so you can check those out as well, because there's a ton of names and we're not going to list them all out.
Nope, not going to help anybody actually.
But it's a pretty nifty list to have, so you can kind of plan who you want to follow and watch throughout the next sort of year of competitive play. We did also have a Magic Fest in Brisbane. Brisbane, and it's kind of more of the same. I would say that we saw here at the Mythic Championship. I think the only interesting list there is a mono green list.
Oh,
piloted by Francisco Sanchez Varela. And kind of playing all the hits. We have 4 Gilded Goose, 4 Pelt Collector, 4 Paradise Druid, 4 Lovestruck Beast, 4 Thrashing Brontodon, 3 Yorvo, Lord of Garen Brig, 1 Questing Beast, okay, 3 Wicked Wolf, and 3 Feasting Troll King, 2 Vivian Arkbro Ranger, 3 The Great Henge, 2 Trailer Crumbs, and then a bunch of green producing lands. But the real card there being the Feasting Troll King, apparently. I guess you do make a fair amount of food, obviously. You have some pretty good ramp with Gilded Goose and Paradise Druid kind of showing up to the party to get you there. I guess the Questing Beast is just very powerful and Pioneer, which is where I've been looking at it. So it's weird to only see 1, and I'm like, that card's so good though. But the Great Henge is one of those cards that with Oko being out of the format is now
it has a little bit of a chance.
Immensely,
has a little bit of a chance.
It's definitely playable. So it's kind of an interesting take and maybe something that you might want to play and have a little bit of fun with there in Standard. But most everything else is kind of what we already have talked about a little bit here and there. So, but. Overall, and I think that is on that was from the Saturday PTQ, even not even the actual top 8. I guess there was a Mardu Knights there in the top 8 as well, to kind of take a look at if you wanted to see a sort of interesting and different list that is viable these days. It's an Evercleave deck because it's playing Running Regisaur, and that is a spicy combo. That's Splinter Twin.
It's not. You know what? As many times you tell me not to ask about Splinter Twin, I'm going to ask you to not call that Splinter Twin. So,
so the only other thing is that when Canister won, he asked that KCI be banned, and for that, I don't like that gentleman. KCI needs to be banned forever.
Yeah, no,
and ever.
Yeah, you don't get it. That's not how Mythic Championships work. You don't get a wish.
Get a wish.
And then we do have that we mentioned earlier in the show. But we do have the entire field set for the World Championship.
Yep.
So I know some people were frustrated with like the way the points set up for that, but I think like I know like Brad Nelson, it was mentioned. I think Todd Anderson mentioned that he had like two top 8 finishes in Mythic Championships and like something else, and like didn't make it. It's like, yeah, but like you can be frustrated with that, I guess, but that just means other people did better.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like that's so. The one thing I think I've gotten annoyed with, and I'm not saying this directly for that, because like that's Todd Anderson, like defending his friend, and I get that. But there has been a weird amount of entitlement from some pros after this. Like I don't know if you saw the train of people trying to get themselves sponsored for this last Mythic Championship because they weren't actually playing for like a website or anything anymore. Like that was really weird.
Yeah,
like it's just like pay me, and it's just like, well, I think they would have already.
Yeah, I guess.
That's why. And it's weird because like PV was one of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I can think he did get somebody.
He did.
But
he
it was
joined.
just like
I forget who
the
he
Storm
joined.
or
Tempo Storm.
Tempo Storm. That's what it is. But it was just like it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know how I feel about this. But I will quickly read through our list of who this is. So we have Javier Dominguez, Andre Strosky, Gabriel Nassif, Marcio Carvalho, Rafael Levy, Autumn Burchett. Is it Eli or Ellie Loveman?
Probably Eli.
Oh, because it's Ellie Cassis and it's spelled the same way. Whatever. Eli Loveman, Seth Manfield, Andrea Mangucci, Matthias Leverado, Thorolf Severin, which I forgot about him. He's the one who won the modern one, right?
Yeah.
Sebastian Pazzo, or Pozo, I'm not sure. I'm sorry. PV, Canisterio, Piotr Gogowski, Chris Kavartek, and Jean-Emmanuel Depraz. Mm-hmm. So, that's going to be a good event.
Yeah.
And then I'll remember it's standard and I won't watch it.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what I'll want to consume, but I mean, like, if it's my birthday weekend and like Valentine's Day, like it's gonna be a busy weekend. I don't know if I have time for watching the World Championship. Maybe not. Whatevs. Anyway, anything else you want to talk about, Magic wise?
No, I think I'm good this week. Go ahead and stick the fork in it.
All right,
I'm done.
We're done. So thank you for listening to another episode of At Your End Step. There is something going on this weekend. I was just looking at it. I think it's Oklahoma City that's going to have a GP, if I'm not mistaken. So
that's cool.
That one is standard, I think still, but I'm going to look it up real quick. But there's going to be a dwindling amount of tournaments that are going to be happening from here on out. There's also is the Player Championship this week for Star City Games.
I was just looking that up. It's so hard to navigate SCG's website at this point.
So yeah, Magic Fest Oklahoma City, which is going to be standard, correct? And the playmat is is Garrick. That's cool. I want that playmat. I like Garrick. Big Garrick fan. He's better now. I don't know if we ever talked about like the spoiler alert for that, but the whole summarization of that is he not sick no more. They stuffed him in a cauldron, and the story was weird. I didn't read it, but I got the Spark Notes effectively. So
yeah, the Players Championship is this weekend. It is a mixed format of Standard, Modern, and Legacy. So if you are a Legacy player who is sad about those changes, live it up.
Yeah,
live it up this weekend.
I might watch that. I think I do appreciate the Star City Games events. I think a little bit better than a lot of what WotC actually puts out. To be perfectly honest,
sure.
So I might check that out if I have a free moment at any point in time. So, but that's what's happening this weekend. Thanks again for listening, like I said previously. If you want to reach out to us, you certainly can. We have multiple avenues for you to do so. You can tweet us, and our handle is YourEndStep, and when you add us, it becomes at YourEndStep. And then we have an email address, atyourendstep@gmail.com, and lastly, facebook.com/atyourendstep. If you are listening to us via one of those podcast apps that allow you to leave a rating or a review, we sure would appreciate it. It helps us get more listeners to the community, and helps us get a little more visibility. So thank you so much if you have already. If you did pick us up from Legit MTG, thank you. Be sure to check out some of the other articles they have on there, as well as their online store. And again, if you want, you can definitely check out our other sponsor, Comic Town, by visiting worldofcomictown.com. Lastly, but certainly not least, thank you again to our patrons, and our Patreon is patreon.com/@YourEndStep. So that's going to be everything for us this week. We will catch you next time, and you have a great one. Bye.